and gentlemen, my name is Willym, and welcome back to a brand new video. Now guys, I know I said I was going to do a Saw traps tier list, but there's just so many traps that I don't even think I'd be able to do a tier list for it. So today, I'm going to be doing the best and the worst traps from each Saw movie here today. Now I got some notes here of what I thought are the best and what are the worst, and I'm going to tell you guys about them. So yeah, it pretty much ranges from Saw 1, Saw 2, Saw 3, Saw 4, Saw 5, Saw 6, Saw 3D, Jigsaw, and of course the new movie Spiral. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Now a couple things out of the way. Obviously this is my opinion. This probably isn't going to match yours. As a matter of fact, I probably don't really think it will match yours, so be sure to leave yours in the comments below, and obviously spoilers for the new movie Spiral if you haven't seen it yet. So with that being said, let's get right into it. Alright, so for the best trap in Saw, it's of course the reverse bear trap. Now this movie hasn't really gotten that much memorable traps, and yeah, a lot of people are going to be on my ass saying, well, Amanda didn't die in the trap. That's the thing though. That's Jigsaw's, I want to say, first survivor of a Jigsaw trap. So yeah, it was a pretty memorable trap, and even then most of the traps in Saw aren't really that memorable anyway. You got the basic design, which looks pretty damn cool, the shock in Amanda's eyes as well, when she sees Billy the puppet for the first time, and even then, yeah, it was the first trap that we got to see Billy the puppet in. It's a very cool trap, and even then you got to go around and to Amanda's cellmate, who Billy said was dead, but nope, he's not dead. So she has to kill an innocent man. Well, no, not innocent. He was in jail, but kill a man who was alive in order for her to survive. And even then, the psychological impact that it had on Amanda afterwards, it was insane. And yeah, it's a cool trap. It's very iconic in the Saw franchise. So yeah, that's why I gotta say, reverse bear trap, best in Saw. Now, of course, we're headed to the worst, which in my opinion is the drill chair. Now, this one, easily the most forgettable out of the entire franchise and the most forgettable in the movie. This one we didn't even get to see the end impact. Of course, Detective Singh and Detective Tapp ended up coming in right before Jigsaw was going to test. Man, I don't even remember the guy's name. Was it Phil? I don't even know. Like, I rewatched the movie and I still don't remember the test subject's name. That's how forgettable this trap is. Now, obviously, we got Detective Singh trying to use the keys on it, and it didn't work. So he ended up shooting the trap, and of course it deactivated. This one, there's not really that much to say other than it's forgettable, and we didn't get to see the end impact. Whether he would have survived on his own or whether he would have died, Singh and Tapp got in the way. Now we go on to Saw 2, which in my opinion is the best Saw movie and the best trap in it is the needle pit. The needle pit, you look at it, it's very, very scary. You look at it for the first time and you're like, oh, what the hell? These are used needles. Now, this trap was obviously supposed to be used for Xavier, the muscular dude in the nerve gas house, but he was too much of a coward to do it himself, so he ended up using Amanda and pull her down. So yeah, two of the best traps in in the first two movies, Amanda has been the test subject of, but in this one, she was just thrown in. You have that much needles pierced into your body at the exact same time. It's just absolutely gross, and you have to dig through all those needles to find a key. Like, I don't know what else to say. It's very, very cool to see, you know. I don't know. I might just be a geek for traps that you have to look away of and be like, oh, what the fuck? What is this? But yeah, you know, it was a very cool trap. Now, unfortunately, I had to choose a trap for the worst. Now, I liked all the traps in this movie. I'm not gonna lie. I liked all the traps in this movie. But if I had to choose, it would have been the razor blade trap. Uh, Mainly due to it being the girl in the trap was so freaking stupid. We didn't know what the trap was supposed to be because Addison, I think her name was, didn't look at the tape. All she did was like, oh, look, an antidote. Oh, shit, I'm bleeding out. Yo, I could just go like this, but no, I'm going to do my other arm. Oh, shit, now I'm bleeding out. I don't know. Like, this probably would have been a good trap in retrospect, but we didn't get to see what the original point of this game was. Addison was just like, okay, I'm gonna go like this. Oh shit. Okay, other arm. Oh no, now I'm bleeding out. Help me. I don't know. I just didn't really like this trap. But, I had to choose one for the worst. And this one was like it. I know I could have chosen the cops getting his legs broken in the beginning, but I don't really count that really as a game. But, whatever. People are going to get pissed, whatever. I don't care. Alright, Saw 3. The best one is obviously, I bet a lot of people can agree with me on this one, is The Rack. You have Timothy Young, who apparently killed... No, not apparently. Who killed the son of the main protagonist, Jeff Denlin's son, in a drunk driving accident. And yeah, it was pretty cool. You twist your limbs and the bones sticking out and everything. First it's the arms, then it's the legs, and then ultimately the head. I mean, it looked very cool. And of course you have slow ass motherfucking Jeff just not doing anything, but that's Jeff. Whatever Jeff's gonna do, Jeff's gonna do. You can't do it. So yeah, the pretty much aspects of the game is Timothy's getting his limbs twisted and Jeff's gonna have to get a key. But the key is connected to a shotgun. So in order for Timothy to survive, Jeff's gonna have to literally take a bullet in order to save the man who killed his son. Now, story-wise, this is insane. Like, does Jeff let his son's murderer die, or does he save him? It was pretty cool, but of course, Jeff taking a sweet-ass time before he ends up doing something, Timothy dies. And even then, the trap is so gruesome and so hard to watch that it's good. Now, of course, you go to the worst trap in Saw 3, and in my opinion, it is the classroom trap. Now, this trap is only bad because you can't survive. Now, the basics of the game is this guy named Troy has, like, a bunch of chains, I think, like, a few on his back, on his Achilles tendons, and then one on his jaw, and on his arms, I believe, as well. Like, it's hard to survive. I don't remember how many minutes he has to survive, but still, it's just an insane trap. That it's insane to the point how that it's impossible to survive. John's whole line is, you gotta let them find a chance to save themselves, but it was rigged for it to fail. And obviously, you have the one on the jaw. That's hard to take out because the pain and everything, and he wasn't gonna get it in time. There's no way he could rip all this shit from his body and survive. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, obviously he dies. So because of the fact that it was impossible, the classroom is the worst trap in Saw 3 by a landslide. Moving on to Saw 4, and in my opinion, one of the most forgettable Saw movies of all time. I had to choose the best trap, and in my opinion, it is the scalp trap. The one where the lady has something tied to her hair, and it's gonna rip the hair out to the point where the scalp is showing. It was a good trap. Now, the basics of the game: this woman named Brenda, I believe, who's a prostitute, is getting her hair ripped out, and Daniel Rigg's gonna have to find a combination to the trap to help her escape. It's a very hard to watch trap, and it's very cool. And the gore, where you see the scalp getting ripped out, is amazing. Now, obviously, Daniel Rigg manages to help her escape, but, she tries to kill him. And you see the end result when she gets more of her head ripped out. It's just a cool trap, in my opinion. I like it. Now, the worst trap I saw for is the knife chair. Cecil Adams' trap in the flashback. I think it was John Kramer's first ever trap, if I'm not mistaken. Now, obviously, Cecil is the man who resulted in the miscarriage of John and Jill's son named Gideon. And John, for revenge, put him in his first ever game where he's going to have to press his head through the knife chairs in order for him to survive. Now, obviously, Cecil tries this, but it doesn't work. The chair that he is on breaks, so he never really got to really face his game. And even then, after that, he doesn't really change. He tries to fight John Kramer. John just sidesteps out of the way, and he lands in a bunch of razor wires. So yeah, it's a pretty bad trap. It probably would have been a good trap, but since John wasn't really experienced in these kinds of traps, it ends up being the worst. So yeah, Saw 5 had a lot of options. It probably would have been the pendulum if there was a way to escape it, but in my opinion, it is the glass coffin. Peter Strom's test that he ended up failing. Now this one, there is a reason why I think it is the best. Now, Peter Strom throughout the whole movie is trying to figure out if Mark Hoffman really is the Jigsaw killer. So he finds a tape and plays it, and the tape says, hey, if you want to survive, you got to step inside the glass box. But what, is Peter Strom gonna freaking trust Hoffman? So he doesn't end up doing it. Hoffman ends up getting into the room. They get in a little fight, and Peter Strom throws Mark Hoffman into the glass coffin, thinking that Mark's gonna die. But no, that glass coffin really is the only way out. And I thought that whole twist was one of the best twists in the franchise. It's just a shame that the whole rest of the movie sucked, in my opinion. So, yeah. Peter Strom ended up getting killed through the walls closing in on him, which I thought was pretty cool, in my opinion. So yeah, Glass Coffin is the best in Saw 5. The worst, in my opinion, is the water box. The water box at the beginning of Saw 5, ironically by Peter Strom as well, in the beginning of the movie. He had this box around his head, and water was going to go in, and he was going to drown. There was no way of him ever, getting out of the trap, because I believe this was also rigged by Mark Hoffman. So the only way he could have survived was that there was a pen still in his pocket, and he gave himself a tracheotomy, so he was able to breathe underwater while waiting for help. But there was no tape or anything. There was no way for Peter to really know how he was going to escape this trap. So really, it was just up to his quick thinking that would have led to his survival. If he didn't think of that, he would have died in there. So it would have been a rigged trap. But even then, the water box is, in my opinion, the worst trap. We move on to Saw 6, and the best one is, I bet a lot of people are going to agree with me on this one, the shotgun carousel. Easily one of the most memorable traps in the entire Saw series, and it was cool. So the basics of the game is that Willym Easton, a corrupt health insurance person, has this policy, and a lot of people die from this policy. So 6 people from his healthcare clinic are riding a carousel. Only 2 have to survive, and in order for that, he has to put his hands on something, and something stabs him in the hand. So yeah, he has to save 2 people, and 4 have to die. And the whole aspect of it is like, well, who's he gonna save? Who's he gonna leave to die? And all these people being like, I have kids. Oh, I'm your best friend. You know me well. I thought it was pretty cool. And the last person being like, look at me. When you're killing me, just look at me. That was huge overacting, but I still think it's awesome. So yeah, the shotgun carousel is pretty cool, in my opinion. The worst is the breathing chamber. Now, obviously, a lot of people are not going to agree with me on this, but it was obvious that Willym was going to win that trap because John or Hoffman wanted Willym to go through all the games and everything, but you know, it was rigged because the other guy that was in that breathing chamber was a guy named Randy who was a smoker. So it was obvious that he wasn't going to be able to hold his breath in time. So where was his chance of survival? This game is clearly favored towards Willym Easton, that Randy was just in there to die. So because of that, it was stupid, in my opinion. So yeah, Saw 6 is the worst. I mean, the worst trap in Saw 6 is the breathing chamber. I'm sorry. For Saw 3D, a movie that a lot of people love to hate, is the fish hook. The fish hook, the best trap in Saw 3D is the fish hook. The fish hook is a pretty cool and decent trap. So yeah, the fish hook is a pretty good trap. Of course, you got Bobby Dagan going through all these games because he said he survived a Jigsaw game before. So yeah. So one of the lawyers, I think it was his lawyer. No, it wasn't his lawyer. It was his publicist. Has to go through this game because she knew that Bobby Dagan was bullshit. That he didn't ever be in a Jigsaw trap. So she has this whole thing called the Circle of Silence, where these little spikes are gonna pierce into her throat if she doesn't shut up while Bobby is trying to get a fish hook out of her mouth. And it was very hard to watch because if she screams by a decibel, those spikes are gonna keep moving in towards her throat. But yeah, a lot of people are gonna be like, oh, but this was an easy trap to survive. How is this the best? You try to shut up while you get a fish hook out of your stomach through your throat. It's impossible, okay? And it's a cool trap to watch because you're just cringing in pain and you're like, oh no, this is bad. So yeah, it was this is the best in Saw 3D. Now, obviously, moving on to the worst, we have the Brazen Bull, due to the fact that the person in the game, Joyce, did not deserve to die. Joyce, of course, being the wife of Bobby Dagan, who had no idea that Bobby Dagan's whole I've never been in a Jigsaw trap was bullshit. Okay, all these other people knew, she didn't. So it just felt like she didn't really deserve to die, you know? So of course the whole basics of the game is Bobby throughout the whole movie, during his whole course to fame, was like, oh, I put these little hooks into my chest, and then I had to climb a bunch of chains and connect these two wires, and then I would have been free. So Jigsaw was like, oh, okay, well, if you could do that, all right, go through this whole test, if you're able to. And then your wife and you will be free if you're able to do what you said you did. And of course, he wasn't able to. The hooks could not support his weight and everything. So Joyce was just there to die. So her chances of survival was not there. So she didn't deserve to die. She didn't know that Bobby Dagan was lying about all this shit. So it was stupid. So yeah, a lot of people do agree with me on this, and I'm glad that they do. So yeah, for Saw 3D, the Brazen Bull is the worst in Saw 3D. Is the Brazen Bull. Now moving on to Jigsaw, the best in my opinion is the bucket head trap. The bucket head trap because everyone could have survived this trap, and even then, it looked pretty cool. Now, obviously, the bucket head trap, they're all connected to a chain, and they're going to move into a bunch of buzzsaws. And if they don't cut themselves, whether it's a little cut on the arm or a cut on the finger or whatever, they just give a blood sacrifice. They're able to move on to the next room. So yeah, I just thought it was a pretty cool trap in comparison to the other traps. I know that everyone ended up surviving, but it was still a pretty awesome trap in my opinion. So I just don't know what else to say for the bucket head trap. I just liked it. Now moving on to the worst. It is at the end of the movie, the laser collar traps. Now a lot of people are going to be pissed at me for this because this was the trap that ended up revealing Logan Nelson as Jigsaw's apprentice, but that just adds to the worst factor. Now obviously you have Logan Nelson and Detective Halloran in this trap where they have to confess, otherwise the lasers are going to cut them. Now, Logan ended up confessing that he screwed up John Kramer's x-rays, and he ended up still getting cut. But Detective Halloran was like, innocent people died because of me. I took bribes from criminals. And he ended up living, but of course, Logan Nelson faked his death and ended up revealing himself as the Jigsaw killer. As an apprentice. But even then, that messes up with the entire timeline because it shows that Logan was the first apprentice to Jigsaw. And I know a lot of people are probably going to correct me in the comments. They probably looked at like some horror history, something or whatever. Like before Amanda Young, before Mark Hoffman, before Lawrence Gordon. It was just, why? And then even then, the whole basis of the game was to confess. Detective Halloran ended up confessing, and Logan's just like, nah, you die. It was stupid, So Halloran dies anyway. So the worst trap in Jigsaw is the laser collar. Now we move on to the new movie Spiral. I can't stress this enough. If you've never seen Spiral and you don't want spoilers, click off this video right now and skip to whatever timestamp is going to be on the screen right now. All right. Moving on to Spiral, the best trap is the finger trap by Detective Fitch. Even though a lot of people are going to say this trap was rigged, I kind of agree with you, but the gore and everything and the memorability of the trap after you see Spiral is a very cool trap. Now, obviously, the basis of the game is Detective Fitch is in the trap because he killed an innocent man for insulting him. He shot him, so it was his fingers that pulled a trigger. So all he had to do was bite down on the helmet and let his fingers rip away. And it was a pretty cool thing to see. It was hard to watch, but it was still a pretty memorable and very cool trap. So yeah, it's my favorite in Spiral. And yeah, it was a very cool trap. Now we move on to the worst, which in my opinion is rigged as well. It was the wax trap by Angie Garza. Now in this trap, she has some plastic bag over her head or something, and boiling hot wax is going to come down from a tube, and if she doesn't want to get suffocated, she's going to have to sever her spinal cord. But she didn't have enough time before the wax ended up coming. Of course, the tape played and said everything she had to do for the game, but after the tape stopped playing, she started getting suffocated by the wax, so she didn't have enough time. The tape said, oh yeah, in a few seconds. But just, in my opinion, if he just gave her like 60 seconds, she probably would have been able to sever her spinal cord and been able to survive. So yeah, because of that alone, the wax trap is my least favorite in Spiral from the Book of Saw. So, ladies and gentlemen, that would be it for the best and the worst traps in every Saw movie. Be sure to leave your favorite and least favorite trap in each of the Saw movies in the comments below. Now, a lot of content coming your way. Of course, a new video every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Be sure to subscribe, turn those post notifications on, leave video suggestions in the comments, whether it's Saw related or any other movie related, whether it's a movie review, tier list, or a ranking, whatever you want, or a reaction or commentary. I have a lot of content coming your way, so be sure to subscribe. And yeah, I'm just rambling on. So this has been Willym. I will see you in the next video. Peace.